right, drops back, rolls out. He's going to look for the end zone. Jarvis back right corner, toe drag, flag, touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, what a way to start the show. Week 3 of the Friday Night Pigskin brought to you by Knox Community Hospital, and we've got a ton coming up at you. Great action on the way here tonight. My name is Brian Skorotsky. I'm your host yet again. We'll get more to that Hillsdale win tonight over their cross-county rival, but we got to begin with the highlight of the night. Richland County rivals going toe-to-toe. Lexington looking for their first win over Clear Fork since 2016, I'm told. This one came down to the final seconds. Let's show you how it all shook out over there in purple and gold country. So the Colts on the road, as mentioned, at Lexington. Great rivalry matchup. Used to be OCC rivals, now in different conferences. And here comes the Colts with Nick Appleman coming near side. 42 yards, he gets ghost. This is a fullback too, folks, showing off some speed. It's 7-0 Clear Fork. Later on, Luke Schlosser down the far side, rumbling and bumbling his way in for 7 yards. That made it 14-7. It's 21-7 after Mason Sansom gets loose for this Clear Fork touchdown, and it looked like maybe the stampede was going to be on, but we'll take you into the second half now. You see night has fallen, and oh, those tricky Minutemen. How about the halfback pass? And it's to a wide open 7 Allen. He's going to coast in. It's 21-14. Lexington looking to make a comeback, but the Colts, they would continue to score and keep pressure on the purple and gold. Milo Burkhalter into the end zone. He grabs that one. They go up by 2 scores, but we got to take you to the closing seconds now. It is just a 6-point game. The lob to the end zone. Braden Fogle double tipped into his lap. He's triple covered, and that's the game-winning touchdown, 28-27. Lexington basically walks off with the victory. The Colts with a missed PAT cost them as they leave Lexington a loser. What an unbelievable game and finish. We will have a complete highlight for you guys coming up tomorrow. All right, another Richland County rivalry went down tonight over at Ontario. The Warriors making their home debut. They were taking on Madison, and we had Keaton Cooper over there taking it in. And normally Keaton, this is a good rivalry. These two teams, when they get together, usually a lot of fun. It was kind of one-sided tonight.
Yeah, it was a great night to be an Ontario fan. Madison, there's a lot you can talk about. But you'll see on the highlights what happened. You know, we start out, it's a hype game, everyone's excited. And you see here one of the nastiest blocks I've ever seen. Oh. And to finish off the drive, there's Peyton Dugan again. You'll see right here with a 28-yard receiving touchdown to make it 10-0 after a field goal. And you see that these Warriors are hyped about it. And, you know, you see a nice pass like that, but you don't realize he can also do it with his legs as he is running and just dives for the pylon. But he wasn't the only one who had a receiving touchdown or a running touchdown tonight, as Chade Stouffer got in for a 3-yard rushing touchdown. But back to here, another wide receiver, Dylan Floyd gets his for and then one more. I mean, it was hard to count, as Madison just couldn't stop the passing game of Ontario tonight.
So Bob Penn Miller, a huge night for him. He was your MVP. Keaton, tell me more about this guy now in his senior season. What'd you like about the quarterback position for Ontario?
You know, they have a lot of upside. That playbook can really open up with him being the guy back there, because not only can he throw it, as we've seen with many of his passes tonight, that he can run it too, as you've seen his scramble that he had where he got plenty of yards. I think it was nearly 20 just on that run there, and then diving for the pylon, making sure that the touchdown gets happening, and that he, you know, can really make a difference for that Ontario team this year.
What about the Rams? Did they show you any signs of life tonight? Because off to an 0-3 start, and watching some of the highlights, you know, not any Rams plays in there. Keaton, what would you see from them?
You know, they have a really talented young core, I think. You know, there's a few guys on the defensive line that were showing they had a sack tonight. There was they had a 20-yard throw that was, I mean, some of their only positive yardage on the night. But I mean, you're seeing that you still have that you're starting to work on. You know, you had a few motion plays that worked out. So just you have room in this week to practice and see what was working for you when you're down in those games.
Yeah, two teams definitely going in opposite directions. Ontario 3-0 for the second consecutive season as they wrap up non-conference play undefeated. The Rams still looking for their first win. Keaton, thanks a lot. All right, to basically, I think you could say our second game of the night. This one might even be better than the Clear Fork versus Lexington game, one of the longest running rivalries in the entire state of Ohio. Shelby and Bellevue Whippets, they were 2-0 on the road, taking on the 1-1 Redmen. We'll show you how this one shook out right now. Highlights you're seeing here from Shelby's win earlier on in the year. That's how they got to 2-0 on the season. So as we're loading up those highlights, we'll go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We will be back with those Bellevue versus Shelby highlights. We'll also have Jake Bruner on the line from Colonel Crawford. They're off to a nice 3-0 start. That and more coming up here on the Friday Night Pigskin.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
Tonight up in Redmond country, I believe we do have some highlights. Let's show you what happened. We're going to begin with a track meet here. Bellevue and Jax Lapata, he takes off. 9-yard rushing touchdown. That's early on in the contest on the opening drive. Shelby battles right back. Braden DeVito, 13-yard pass to Isaiah Ramsey. We are all square at 7 apiece. Very next drive, though, for Bellevue, it's Lapata again. Another rushing touchdown. They would miss the extra point, though. Shelby right back at it. Skylar Winters in from 1 yard out. They pull ahead by 1, but Brody Horn Getting into the end zone, 2-point conversion would make it 21-14. As we now jump to the fourth, it's Lapata getting in there. 18-yard touchdown here as he cuts back the other way against the grain. They would miss the 2-point conversion, though, so it's 35-27. Shelby scores on a 60-yard pass to Casey Lance. This is a 2-pointer to try to tie it, and it is off the fingertips of the intended target. So Shelby goes down by 2, 35-33. Unbelievable game. And just about every time these two teams get together, it seems to come down to the wire. Been playing that thing for 100 years of football. So the Whippets head into MOAC play now at 2-1, as Bellevue as well, 2-1 on the season. All right, Andrew Jardy is here with me tonight, and we both checked in on Lucas, and we're hosting Smithville tonight. Cubs coming in at 0-2. Smithies were 2-0, so something had to give here tonight, and I think that what gave was everything from Lucas. They look great.
Yeah, they looked very good tonight. A completely different team than what we saw in week 1 with the Lucas Cubs. They came out tonight. I think they played with a chip on their shoulder, home opener, feeling pretty down about those first 2 weeks. They took out some frustrations tonight. Smithville, unfortunately, was the team in their path, as we'll take a look at those highlights tonight. Show you how the Cubbies found a way to get off the schneid and into the win column. It started out great for Smithville in the first quarter. Bryce Butcher carving up the defense, 55 yards to Richard Carr. That made it 7-0. Carr was pretty happy after this one, dancing into the end zone. Under a minute now in the first quarter, Zach Deal goes in from 10 yards. That ties things up at 7. He had an earlier touchdown run called back for holding, but he capitalized on it there. Second quarter, it's Grayson Jackson from 2 yards out, his jersey number, 2-yard touchdown run, 14-7 Lucas. And then Zach is dealing his second touchdown of the night, 21-7 Lucas. And here, still second quarter, Logan Toms, 44-yard touchdown run. That's his second. It's 28-7 Lucas at the half. We jump to the third quarter. Lucas has not punted, by the way, at this point in the game. Every possession resulted in a touchdown. Here we go with Jackson, 40 yards. It's 34-7 Lucas. And then in the fourth quarter, it's Toms with the hat trick, his third touchdown on a 3-yard run. 41-7 Lucas wins. This was not the competitive, close game we thought we were going to see tonight. And with the way that it started out with Smithville, too, it looked like, Brian, this was going to be a barn burner. But my, oh my, Lucas just would not be stopped tonight on the offensive side of things.
They got back to their old ways, if you will. RPO
Right.
means something a little bit different down in that part of the country. Run people over. 350 rush yards plus tonight, Andy. 0 pass attempts. So I think that this was Lucas getting back to what is at their core, basically.
Yeah, I mean, why even attempt to throw the ball if you're going to have that much success on the ground? And this was just a collaborative effort on the rushing attack tonight. You had 6 different ball carriers tonight for the Cubs. Logan Toms, he was our MVP tonight. 21 carries, 153 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Jackson carried it 9 times, 82 yards and a touchdown. Deal had 2 touchdowns. And we talked about him a lot on the broadcast, at least I did tonight, Brian. Tim Daly made a name for himself tonight. Yeah. He didn't have any carries coming into the game. He finished 4 carries, 69 yards on the night. So an impressive performance for him. If they're going to get guys like this to step up to help out, manage the load there with Toms and Jackson, Lucas is going to be dangerous.
I love the Cubs offense and what they did tonight, but I think they were even more impressive defensively. They allowed the big touchdown that was on a 3rd and forever there at the beginning of the game. After that, Andy, seldom even allowed a first down.
Yeah, there were 3 first downs for Smithville on that opening drive, and that 55-yard touchdown pass was really just a 50-50 ball. It was 3rd and 25, and they just went for it, came down with it. Credit to them, they got the touchdown, but then they did not get a first down until late into the second quarter. They only finished with, I believe, 9 for the game. So this was just a dominant effort from Lucas tonight, something they sorely needed. And I think a lot of people around here, myself included, were kind of down on Lucas. But I got to give credit to our Travis Berardi, who said they're the best 0-2 team in the area. And he might be right. And now they're 1-2, which makes them the best 1-2 team in the area.
And I hear that other media pundits were maybe picking against the Cubs. Might have gave them a little bit of extra incentive, Jake Furr, this week. So congratulations to him, the Spit and Company, getting off the schneid.
Yeah, you should get that cough looked at, Brian. That doesn't sound good.
Sorry. All right. Thanks a lot, Andy. A team that definitely did not have to get back on track this week, the Colonel Crawford Eagles, came into tonight at 2-0, and they are now 3-0 heading into Northern 10 Conference play, and we've got their head coach Jake Bruner on the line with me right now. So, Coach, just tell me what it's like to be undefeated, 3-0 at this time of the year.
Well, we're happy where we're at right now, obviously, and it was a good win tonight at home. So we're happy to be home, happy to get a win.
Back-to-back wins for you guys where you win big. 106 total points in the last 2 weeks. What do you like most about your offensive performance?
I like that we're just getting better. You know, we've got a lot of kids. We got some kids that are back from last year, but we got a lot of young kids out. So.
Coach, where are you at right now? What are you up to?
I'm outside right in my house.
Gotcha. Well, how do you like to celebrate a win, or what's that look like for you tonight? Are you just wandering around the property and kind of collecting your thoughts, or what's it look like you typically after a big dub?
You're keeping me up past my bedtime. I'd probably be in bed an hour ago if I hadn't been on this call. So you're keeping me up a little later than I'm used to.
We'll try to get you off to Betty by. Just a couple more questions for you, Jake. Talk to me about the Week 1 win. It came down to the wire. You're on the edge of the state. What do you think you and your guys learned about yourselves kind of getting through that one and coming out on top?
Just, you know, we got down 14-0 in that game, and obviously it was a 4-hour trip to a really good team in Hannibal River, and our kids battled back, and we were able to kind of hold on to the win and kind of wear our opponents down. I think we just gained ourselves a little confidence, and like I said, we got a young team, and we're just slowly bringing them along, and we like where we're going right now.
Well, you guys, obviously, you've been right near the top of the Northern 10 the last couple of years. Give me your predictions on how things are going to kind of stack up. Where do you see the Eagles in terms of, obviously, you're in the upper hierarchy. Who do you have to compete with to win the league title this year?
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you, we're not even worried about that now. We're just worried about the next game in front of us. I think, honestly, Gary's the team in the league, and, you know, they obviously won the league last year, so the league's going to go through Gary.
Well, since we're going to be tucking you in now, Jake, tell me about your nighttime routine. How do you typically get off into drifty Betty by time?
It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Fellow, no problem.
Yeah, especially after on Fridays, of course, we're all a little beat down by the end of the night. So congratulations, Jake, on another 3-0 start, and continued success to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Yeah, appreciate the time. So Bruner staying up late with us, and then also so is Big League Berardi, who was down in Blue Devil country, and they were dancing in the moonlight a lot in the end zone, right, Trav? It seemed like the Blue Devils, they're kind of playing pretty well.
Van Morrison, nice comment on there. But you know, you remember that little kind of bet Madeline and I had on the preview show about the K-Mac? Throw it out. Throw it out. Nope. I've seen Danville. Nope, done. You know how you can cash out before things happen? K-Mac hasn't started yet. I'm cashing out because Blue Devils, they've got a chip on their shoulder from a game that you and I called last year, that regional championship game. They've been working all off season in the weight room, in the gym during the winter, back out during the spring, and they want to get back to that spot and maybe further. And after seeing them, they might be one of the best teams in the area. And I'll show you this right now. Yeah, I'll show you this right now. Let's see the highlights of Danville pretty much rolling in their Week 1 victory. Opening drive for the Devils. Walker Weckesser finds a wide open Briar Bozhart, 14 yards. A whole Gian Storm could have ran through. It's 6-0 early on. After the ensuing kickoff that was returned to midfield, Fairfield's got some fumbleitis. QB don't see it. He can't jump on it. And then there's Blake Colopy, one of his 2 fumble recoveries. And for this one, he's got a convoy. That's a scoop and score. Just like that, it's 13-0. Time running out in the first, and Cole DeLauder has officially become a Blue Devil because it's the jump pass. It's back ski. The greatest play in all of sports. Devils rolling 27-0 after 1. Second quarter, and Danville finishes their scoring. DeLauder and the Wildcat powers in from 4 yards out. He had just a ho-hum, 179 on 21 carries with a score rushing and a passing score. Danville's 3-0. 41-7 is your final. Brian, they came into this game averaging 61 points. It's going to drop down into the mid-50s, but this team, after losing what they lost to graduation from that regional runner-up team, they actually look like they're better than that squad. it's crazy how good they are right now.
Well, tell me about Fairfield. They come in at 2-0, not impressive tonight. Why?
Well, first, they only had 21 kids on the roster. And when you have a team like Danville that wears you down, you can't replace kids in and out, it's really going to hurt you, especially the first play from scrimmage for them is that fumble, scoop, and score. Next kickoff, they fumble again. Danville goes down and scores. Danville was 5 of 6 on possessions offensively, and when it wears you down, when you have a bad snap, a fumble here, you don't have your second play until it's 19-0, 5-6 minutes into the game, it really hurts you. So that tough start for them and not having the bodies to replace each other, it really cost them.
So you get DeLauder into the mix. They got this high-powered offense. He's doing a lot of things. Defensively, they look great. Any weaknesses that you can point out, or where do the Devils improve at, man? Because it's still early in the season. You don't want to be peaking too early.
They had 7 penalties for 80 yards in the first half alone, 9 for 80 or 70, 7 for 70 in the first half, 9 for 80 total. And one of the drives the one drive they did not score on in the first half was because of a couple holding penalties. They had a personal foul face mask, I think, in there as well. So they can clean up on the penalties because, in a closer game, something like maybe a Northmore game 2 weeks down the road or against the Centerburg or something like that, those penalties could cost you maybe the game and maybe a conference.
All right, thanks, Trav. We'll have more from Big League coming up here in just a little bit, but the Devils off to a 3-0 start. The Galion Tigers also are off to an undefeated start. Let's go ahead and spin some highlights for you. Madeline Zizzuto was there and seeing how the Tigers were able to get it done against a high-powered Upper Sandusky offense.
Starting off strong, we got Braxton Prosner wasting no time as he would get the Tigers on the board. Well, this is actually Gabe Ivey, and he had 50 yards all the way into the end zone with this play, and he's actually going to do it again. We got deja vu in the quarter number 2 as Gabe Ivey would repeat this similar run, prancing all the way for 6. And this is not the last time that we'll be seeing him tonight in this highlight, as the Ivy party roars on as he would find the end zone once again from 5 yards away, making the score 28-zip. And Braxton Prosner sliding back into the end zone with a rushing touchdown to keep the score coming for Galion.
He getting there.
He is.
Oh, a little like water slide action at the end.
And the Rams getting in the scoring column now. Caden Holdman takes it for himself to pay dirt, making the score 34-6. And finally, we got Ivy putting a bow on this one. Another rushing touchdown from him, bringing us our final score to 41-6 from Galion, and they are cruising 3-0 on the year.
Yeah, Tigers were 1-2 in the non-conference last year. They did beat Upper Sandusky, but they're 3-0, and they're kind of rolling now since they were able to squeak by Winford in week 1. Why is it, Maddie? What makes this Tigers team so dangerous?
Well, the culture is just different in general for Galion, and honestly, just from tonight, Gabe Ivey has really stepped up his running game this year, and he is going to be a huge asset this year, just like he was last year, but he's really stepped it up this year.
Yeah, tell me more about that kid. He had a ton of touchdowns tonight. He was kind of quiet in week 1. I think Coach probably figured out you just got to give him the ball, right, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, I was told he had 327 rushing yards just tonight, and he had his 4 rushing touchdowns. And I think he's going to be a very pivotal part for Galion with conference play coming up next week.
Yeah, no question about that. Could Galion be a factor in the MOAC? They're definitely coming in with a head of steam. Thanks, Madeline.
Of course.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we still got more highlights on the way. We're going to have some action over in the pig pen. Plus, we'll break down what we're going to call the best of the rest, the other scores that we don't have video highlights for. All that and more coming up right here on the Pigskin.
At Knox Community Hospital, your primary care physician is more than someone who delivers your test results, more than someone who writes prescriptions, more than someone who listens to your heart. We are your healthcare partner who takes the time to know you, listen to your concerns, and provide you with expert personalized care to make and keep you well. Because to us, you're more than just numbers on a chart. You're a neighbor and a friend. Knox Community Hospital, in the community, for the community.
Brian.
Oh, hey guys. Just checking out my notes here. Looks like we got a couple more big highlights coming up.
A couple more big guys.
But let's toss it over to the Big Pen, aka Cutie Corner. What are you guys calling it this year? Does it have a specific name?
I don't know if it's got a name this year. It's not really. It's never really even been a corner. It's just kind of like a wall. So I don't know. We'll have to work on it. But we're back in the matching OH Report polos. Got some new swag dripped out to the nines, as we did not have that swag of a game. I hate to say it, Garrett. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for Hillsdale Falcons fans, they triumph over the Redbirds in a big way.
Yeah, Storm. Hillsdale, I mean, they started slow. We're going to get to the highlights here in a second, but they started out the game pretty slow in Loudonville. I mean, they came to play in that first quarter, really just that first drive, but after that, it was all Falcons, and I'll let you take over there.
So we're going to kick it right over to the highlights as Loudonville was driving so fast down the field. Our cameras were only able to catch the tail end of this field goal that would open up the scoring for the Redbirds.
Jack Fickus here, Storm. This was the call of the night. We started the show with the toe drag swag in the back of the end zone. Fickus was on fire all night.
Then Fickus, a little quarterback-on-quarterback crime as there's an INT from the Loudonville quarterback.
And Storm, guess what? The next play, Matt Sprang throws an interception right into the defender's hand on a screen. And here we go, Storm, with Jack Fickus once again.
Yeah, Fickus and Jarvis were a dynamite little 1-2 punch with a tremendous wheel route for a touchdown. Falcons begin to pull away in this one, 14-3.
And Storm, Fickus to McFadden. Loudonville played that off coverage all night long. It would do no wonders. This would take it 21-3. Hillsdale would score a garbage time touchdown, Storm, and a field goal. 31-3 route. As a non-conference foe, they're pretty, I would call them rival, Storm. At least they were rivals when I went to Loudonville. Hillsdale, they dominated the entire game, except for that first drive when Loudonville was able to get the field goal. Other than that, it was all Falcons all night out there at the Falcons Nest. Are we calling it that?
That was my,
I guess that's
that was my coin term. I wanted to call it the Falcons Nest. No, everybody's like, no, that's so stupid. But I digress. Garrett, we see a lot of these small school rivalries out here, especially non-conference, like, Crestview East Knox, Loudonville, Hillsdale. It's pretty exciting. A lot of people don't really like the non-conference part of the schedule, but there are a lot of great rivalries in the area.
Well, Strom, I also want to give a shout-out to Hillsdale as a whole. I think they're giving Crestview a run for their money for best field out there, Storm. And complex, too. Everything's right out there, right out together. So shout-out to Hillsdale for that, too. And shout-out to the football team tonight. They dominated as a whole, and what a great rivalry that is, too. The stands were packed, the banter back and forth from the student sections.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the Redbird mascot was out there, Tuffy, Storm, doing his thing. He was on the broadcast, so if you want a chance to go see the Redbirds mascot, we talked about him all night long. Go give it a look.
He was in his little headband and construction vest. He was dripped out a little bit.
He was dripped out.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Hillsdale offense. They started off the year running the ball, very run-heavy, kind of like triple option almost, and this week was just completely different. They quickly sniffed out that the run was not working in the first quarter, immediately came out slinging the rock, and we saw as Fickus had a phenomenal night. I believe 5 total touchdowns for him.
Storm, dominant night from Fickus, and he's kind of the guy that he's been the engine for Hillsdale, not only in the passing game, but also the rushing game. The quarterback, just starting into the night, he was 9 of 14 all season for 84 yards. He had 4 passing touchdowns tonight, 2 to McFadden and 2 to Jarvis. So big-time game from the Falcons QB. He was our MVP, Storm. So Jack Fickus is doing it all for the Hillsdale Falcons.
And I wanted a talking point on our game tonight was who is the real K-Mac Plus. He's not here tonight, so it still could be Travis, I guess. But I did want to talk a little bit about the K-Mac. Loudonville, they're heading into conference play, as is everybody. But it's been a rocky start for them, 1-2. Where do they go from here into the tough K-Mac?
Well, Strom, they kind of run not the same kind of offense that Hillsdale does, but they like to rely on Matt Spring's rushing ability as a quarterback position. He can pass the ball, too. He was first-team All-K-Mac last season. He had, I believe, 1,800 yards and double-digit touchdowns. So he can throw the ball through the air, but that Hillsdale defense suffocated him tonight, made him one-dimensional, made them run the football, and it didn't work up front as Hillsdale dominated. And for Loudonville going forward, I think they have to find a balance. They have to be able to pass the ball, and they have to be able to run the ball. And they want to run with Matt Spring, and to get him open, they got to be able to push the ball down the field with some of those wide receivers.
And then, last but certainly not least, of course, the elephant in the room, the Hillsdale Falcons, starting off 3-0, Garrett. This is a seriously good roster. Weapons everywhere, running back, wideouts, quarterback. This team can ball.
Yeah, Strom, they're loaded. Their defensive line played well tonight. I know I haven't mentioned them yet, but defensive line played well. After that first drive, it was a Hillsdale domination. There really was. The game was never close. And after that, Hillsdale ran away with it. And I think Hillsdale going in the Wayne County Athletic League, going up against Norwayne. They're at Norwayne next week, so they got to go back on the road. They've been home the last 2 weeks. Let's see if they can get it done. I like the chances to be, a contender in that league.
And just before we throw it back to Brian, one last shout-out from our live stream, Garrett. We saw something pretty quirky that you don't see a lot of the times. The index card ruling on the first down.
Yeah.
It was weird, but we learned today it's not against the rules to do that. It's
not against the rules, and it's actually used, obviously if it's a short yardage situation. Gene Steratore, I believe, made that kind of a coin term, is using the index card to measure out the change. So shout out to any ref that wants to pull up the index card. We love it here on the OH Report.
A lot of wacky, wild things happening at Hillsdale, but I think Brian's going to have some sour news to kind of spoil our pig pen party over here.
Yeah, sorry about that, boy. So it looks like maybe the Falcons trying to take over for the best facility in the area from your Crestview Cougars, who were not at home tonight, where they tend to play very well. They were on the road at Highland, a team also looking for a 3-0 start. And, well, let's just spin those moving pictures. We'll all watch it together and see how this thing shook out.
Oh, no!
That's Liam Kuhn, gets cracked. And it's going to be recovered there by Clay Mitchell. This is Dane Nauman. The Dane train all aboard, right? Just rumbling, bumbling. Wow. Are you serious? That's a 25-yard touchdown run. He would do that many more times tonight. Later on, this is a punt return, of course. Hayden Klein on the other end, and he's going to get wiggly, throw off a couple of would-be defenders, and then let's just speed it up and get into the end zone. 70 yards. He's going to go ghost. Bye-bye. And it's 17-0. Highland out in front. Later on in the third quarter, Cougars got on the board, but they would get answered immediately. Sam Hernandez finds a little window, and he's going to cruise through it. 77 yards this time. And then we wrap things up. It's Dane Nauman yet again. This time 79 yards. Nobody can catch him. He scored not once, not even 2 times, not a trips, but 4 touchdowns tonight for the Dane train. Woo, woo, all aboard. Gentlemen, I think 2 things happened here tonight. All right, let me break this down. The Fighting Scots, they got maybe the most exciting player in North Central Ohio. Dane Nauman's the real deal. But then also Crestview, coming off those back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, I just don't think they have the same type of roster. We asked last year, are they going to be able to replace some of those dudes that they lost? Maybe this is the year that for Coach Haverdale, they don't have those horses that are just waiting there that you can bring out that can get up like the thoroughbreds of the past.
Well, I think that this Crestview roster does have a lot of talent. It's just the fact that they have such a huge target on their back this year. This is what they were kind of doing to other teams all last year. This year, it's not as good of a roster. They're still great, but everybody wants to beat Crestview this year. That's basically it. Everybody wants to beat Crestview, and that makes it really hard to play competitive and win some football games.
Well, Strom, when we were in high school, when was the last time we went to the playoffs when we were in high school? 2011 with Mason Minnick.
Mason Minnick works for the Dolphins
These things happen with classes. Crestview has been, great the past couple of years. They've had generational type talent the past couple of seasons, and you don't have that every year, and year in and year out. This might be the year where maybe they're not, destroying teams. And last year they held Dane Nauman in check, and this year, obviously, didn't go in their favor as you're seeing the highlights. But Dane Nauman, man, he's a heck of a talent, and I would say he's the best player in the area. But Crestview, they're not the roster that they were last season or even the year before. But I still think they have a fighting chance in that Finals Conference. I think it's down a little this year.
So off to a 1-2 start for the Cougars, but one thing that they've been consistent at, they've had a coon under center for a long time now. So you saw Liam tonight on the road struggling a little bit. Do you feel like he and this offense in that Firelands can again be not the third, but the fourth straight champion of that league?
Well, I mean, Highland, they were just a really good squad, and like you said, they have arguably the best player in the area in Dane Nauman. But I don't know. Liam is just so young, a sophomore, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but just a sophomore. I mean, you're handing the reins to a three-time conference champion. You're handing the reins to him, and it's just going to be hard if that's anybody, basically. So I still think they can have a piece of that pie. It is going to be tough. It is
Western Reserve, I believe, is still the best team. They were 2-0 last weekend. I'm not sure if they won this weekend or not, but I'll say this. I think Crestview has the opportunity to win. I think it's going to be on the table. I think they know how to play against these Fireland Conference opponents. I think Steve Haviland's a great coach. He's going to prepare well. He's going to get the guys ready to go. But it's really going to be all up to the sophomore. And it might not be this year that they get it done, but at least now you got that starting experience, Liam, for junior and senior year going in. I think the Cougars are still going to do some damage. You think I'm picking against the Cougars? Yeah, they're winning the Firelands Conference. Come on.
Now, it is very weird, though, that the greatest rival in the Firelands Conference is not going to be St. Paul. That's so weird as a Crestview kid, because usually it's like St. Paul, everybody else.
But that's what's so different about when we were in high school to now. Like, we weren't even making the playoffs, and now Crestview, like that's the standard there, and just
powerhouse now.
Times have changed. I mean, Brian said they're a powerhouse over there in Firelands. The Cougars are.
Well, they're always going to have the party lights. So
that's right. I know you guys are going to be over there partying again this season. Plenty more Cougars action to come this year. So thank you guys from what we're going to have a new name for next week in week 4. Appreciate it, gentlemen. All right, we're going to wrap up the show tonight with something that we haven't done the first couple of weeks. Travis Berardi loves his numbers, diving into the ins and outs of kind of what makes a win or a loss. So we're going to call this the best of the rest. Big League, which teams do you want to look at this week? And, where do you want to start here tonight?
Well, I mean, ask and you shall receive, G and Storm, because we're going to do a little bit of the Firelands. They think it's down. I actually think the Firelands is up this year. We'll start with Western Reserve, that squad taking on Winford. Last week, they won against Margaretta on a 2-point conversion from Connor Dawson, because last week, Connor Dawson, 25 carries, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns in that winning 2-point conversion against Margaretta. Well, they went on against a good Winford squad tonight, and they beat them 28-20. Winford had a chance at the end to tie it, but a big sack by Western Reserve keeps them at 3-0. Another Firelands Conference squad that is 3-0, Monroeville, 40-21 winners over Seneca East. Evan Benfer, the quarterback, 3 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown to keep Monroeville unbeaten on the season going into conference play. And then one other squad, Mapleton, taking on those Golden Knights. It was a shootout. They ended up winning it 40-33. They picked off A.J. Bauer on 4th and goal from the 5. They then, on their possession, fumbled the ball away, but Northmore couldn't pick it up. They were able to fall on it, run the clock out. Colin Klein, the quarterback from Mapleton, 28 carries, 288 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. So there's a lot of good runners in the Firelands Conference right there. Another score, the Battle of the Tigers, Brian. Mansfield Senior heading down to Massillon to take on Washington. Massillon 51, Mansfield Senior 10. Amar Davis, though, 7 catches, 113 yards. They did have it to 28-10 on a pick 6, but then Massillon Washington just ran all over them in the second half, and we know how good they are after beating Valdosta in the first game of the regular season. Another score, Cary Baby, they're on the board, Brian. 28-14 winners over Lima Central Catholic. Eli Steen, 2 rushing touchdowns, and we're going to stay in the Northern 10 one more moment. I had cousins that graduated from Ada, the Bulldogs. They played Buckeye Central tonight. Ada 41, Buckeye Central 25. Levi Green for the Bulldogs, 21 carries, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then his teammate Jaylee Bolden, 19 carries, 152 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Buckeye Central, tough night against Ada, against those Bulldogs, but I bet my cousins back over in Ada are happy about that.
Yeah, that's one heck of a 1-2 punch there in the backfield. Yeah. And for Mansfield Senior, what a tough non-conference schedule for them. They're going to head into OCC play at 1-2. It's going to be interesting to see how good is the OCC this season. Can the Tigers compete yet again? I feel like they got a ton of talent. Yeah. Worcester seems to have a good team. Ashland lost tonight, so I can't really get a pulse on what we should expect from that one, Travis, when that gets rolling next week.
Well, West Holmes will take on Mansfield Senior will take on a West Holmes squad that just lost their first time in, I think, 26 games. But it's still looking like New Philadelphia, Worcester, Mansfield Senior will be the ones because New Philadelphia beat Worcester tonight. The lone conference matchup, just because how wacky the OCC is when you have different teams, getting that conference bye week. But it's going to be between the Tigers, who are good. They beat the defending, D3 state champs in Canfield last week. It's just a tough schedule. They'll be ready. But I think the Tigers, New Philly, maybe Worcester if New Philly can get a couple losses. Those are your front runners. But, hey, you never know with West Holmes going in this week. And there's always another team that, tries to make some noise in the OCC. But I still got faith in those TY Tigers to do some things, especially when you have a star like Amar the Star.
Well, non-league, all behind us now for most teams in the area. So starting next week, we're getting into the bread and butter of the season. We're going to start breaking down the big matchups and what it all means as far as the conference races, that and so much more, Travis.
Playoffs.
It's been a fun week 3. Yeah, we can start talking about the playoffs. I don't think it's too early after week 4 with some of the computer points that we'll have. So it's going to definitely be an interesting Friday next week to see who gets off onto the right foot in conference play and those that got to start digging themselves out of an early hole.
Yeah, you got a lot of teams that are good that need to bounce back. I said West Holmes, Northmore off that tough loss. Sure. They got a big one, and then in 2 weeks it might be the KMAC championship if teams play out the way they're supposed to. If Danville wins next week, Northmore wins next week. Northmore, Danville at Danville in week 5.
Yeah,
I mean, you never know, but there's some squads that if you play tough non-conference schedule and you go 0-3, you never know. You look at Lucas. If Lucas were getting into their conference schedule, you probably still think, hey, at 1-2, they're probably going to be a favorite to win their conference. It's just how tough do you have your schedule before that to get your team ready for that conference slate?
Well, we'll definitely have all the action for you next week, but we'll wrap things up here tonight for week 3 of the Friday Night Pigskin. Still a long way to go, 10 more shows, and we hope that you'll be with us every step of the way. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you right back here next week. Oh, shoot.
Hey, how about we go to Phenoms first, though?
We got more to do. We've got winners. How about this? A.J. Bauer, you talked about those Golden Knights.
Yeah.
4 passing touchdowns, nearly perfect, too. 164 yards through the air for A.J. Bauer. So he was your week 2 winner for Friday Night Phenom. And then the play of the week, both of these coming from Northmore. Ryan Lowry, an amazing pick 6. He takes it in for the Knights. That's a 3rd pick 6 for them in a couple of games. Look at this, just trying to unload it, and the big fella catches it in stride and then scoots in there for your play of the week.
Yeah, Golden Knights there. It was the high note in their 60-0 win. They get in the shootout this week. We'll see if they can bounce back. But I know you're so excited to get the week 4. You wanted to get through week 3 here, Brian. But a lot of big plays last week. I can't wait to see what our nominees for Phenom and top plays are for this upcoming week because we had a lot, especially at Toe Drag Swag to lead off the show.
That's right. So we'll have that coming up for you guys on Monday. We roll out the nominees. You decide what was the best of the best. See you next week.